wrestling found me. I took that first bump. I was obsessed with it. Things happened pretty quick. I started in 99. By 2001, I was in WCW.
What would your career look like if you had gone to WWE much earlier?
Wouldn't have worked. I don't think I was sure who AJ Styles was exactly.
It is impossible to have a TNA Mount Rushmore without AJ Styles' face on there. Who are the other three?
Chris Van Vliet, Samoa Joe. A lot of people would see Kurt.
You debuted at the Rumble in 2016. We popped for the word phenomenal.
One of the best moments in my wrestling career. That moment I will never forget.
Do you want to wrestle into your 50s?
No.
What does life after wrestling look like?
I'm not afraid of retirement. I think it's going to be great. I hope to have a good storyline that leads up to the retirement.
We're finally making this happen.
Finally. Holy cow. It's more my fault than yours, obviously. But
we were supposed to do a Bad Blood weekend.
Yep.
And I got a text from you the night before, and you're like, I think I might have broken my ankle or foot or both.
Yeah, little did I know it was actually worse than breaking it. You know, I didn't know at the time, but yeah, that was like, oh crap. So, yeah.
How heartbreaking was it though? It's your return, and then you get put on the shelf again.
Oh man, and I knew I'd broke it, right? Because if you've broken it before, same foot.
Yeah.
I was like, I broke it again, and I'm pissed because now I know how long it's going to take to get back. But like again, little did I know it was much worse than a break.
What was worse about it?
Because it's tendons, and my doctor, who is also my friend, it was like, do not look this up. I'm like, I'm gonna look this up, and it's a career-ending injury. And it happens in car wrecks and in professional football mostly. That's usually when it happens. And in football, of course, like it's one of those things, depending how severe it is. And I was literally by the skin of my teeth, I was able to. They're like, we can have surgery. We can do surgery on your foot, and it will heal faster. But there could be complications as you get older. We don't know if we don't have to have surgery. Let's try to do some therapy and get it back to where it is. And lucky for me, man, I was able to get that therapy that I needed. Wasn't easy. It sucked. It's so crazy that you have to learn how to walk again to a certain extent. Like, how did I forget how to run? Little things like that because I was in a boot for 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Then I got 6 weeks, in therapy trying to figure this thing out. It'll mess with you.
But 3 months after the injury, you're back.
Crazy, right?
Yeah. And then you haven't lost a step.
I think it's one of those things where I'm so afraid of losing a step. I'm doing everything I can to make sure it doesn't look like I've lost a step.
Yeah.
But it took a toll on me. Like it's still, because I go out there and listen, I got 2 gears. All or nothing. Is that 1 gear? I don't know. But the fact that I'm going to go in there, I'm going to give it all. And then after adrenaline wears off, I was like, oh, now it's sore a little bit. So you might catch me limping afterwards until I get used to this foot, having all the, stretching it out, all those tendons, and stuff like that. But, so far so good.
Did you have a moment after that injury where you're like, this might be it?
This is it. I was like, this is it. How am I going to recover again? I was like, this might be it.
Really?
And it sucked because like you said, I just came back. I was not hurt, previous, after I wrestled Cody, right? And I quit match. I was not hurt during that time. So I'm sitting at home going, okay, guys, okay. And then, hey, we're going to bring you back in Nashville. It's going to be great. Hurt myself.
Yeah.
I was like, I was like shoot pissed. I was mad. Like it may look like I was acting. I was not.
You don't curse though. So it was a lot of frickins.
There were a lot of freaks. It was one of those, you're so mad, what can you say?
Yeah.
And so you maybe try to find something, I beat on the mat and I was like, what? I was so mad, because this is my moment and I screwed it up.
But you're back now.
And I'm back now. Mind you, I say I screwed it up, not anybody else. This isn't ballet. This is wrestling. People get hurt, mistakes happen, and I blame nobody but myself.
Yeah.
So just want to throw that out there.
This means a lot to me that we're sitting down. You were my guy. I'd never seen anyone work like you before when I saw you in TNA.
Oh, wow.
So for us to be sitting down now, almost 20 years after me watching your first match, this means a lot. So thank you.
Yeah, shoot. I've been looking forward to this. I know I said this before we started talking on, like, you have had interviews with anybody who's ever done anything in wrestling, especially. And I was like, man, I've got to get with this guy. We've got to do something. And then, like you said, but then I get hurt, and then we're like, oh no, was this going to happen? So no, man, it's a pleasure to be on the show.
Well, thank you. And like going back to that, I'd never seen anyone work like you before. Where did that come from? Like, I remember the first time I saw you, I went, this guy must have been a gymnast or something like that.
No, never a gymnast. I wrestled I played sports in high school, and I wrestled in college, and my wife was a cheerleader. And so she knew how to do the flips, and I thought it can't be that hard, and then we hung out after school. I remember there was, a pole vaulting mat that you could, they just left out there, right? But it was soft to land on. So I was like, I could practice my backflips and stuff. And it, kind of came naturally, wasn't that hard. And she was the one that showed me how to, make sure it's right. And then I perfected it a little bit more. And then once you do one back tuck, you kind of figure it out like, oh, and once you can control your body, all these flips become easy. They're not very hard anymore, once you experience it, because it's like a cart. If you want to do a standing tuck correctly, it's you jump straight up and then you turn like the cartoon, right? Like just like that. It feels really weird, but once you figure that out, everything else becomes easy, I think.
What did you think you were going to do for a living before you found pro wrestling?
I really didn't have a clue, to be honest with you. As a kid, you're like a basketball player, football player, something.
What was your sport?
We didn't have football in elementary school where I was at, so I played basketball. That was my sport, baseball. By the time I got to middle school, I just was playing basketball. By the time I got to high school, it then turned into wrestling and track and football, and then settled down to just football and wrestling as I graduated. So, I was into everything, but I knew I wasn't going to be a football player. I knew I could go to, and wrestle in college, but then what? Never really knew. Honestly, I was kind of lost there for a minute. When I started training, I was a bottled water delivery guy. Like the big 5-gallon jugs, I was carrying them in, and doing that. That's what I did. So luckily, I think wrestling found me. And once I thought that there was a chance of being able to make money in wrestling, going, this is a good idea, didn't matter anymore because I fell in love with it.
You kind of found it by accident though, right?
Yeah. I had some friends who said that they were going to go to a training, somewhere to train. I go, oh yeah, right. I bet you are. And sure enough, they found a place about 30 minutes from the house. So I was like, okay, I'll meet you guys up there. I'll check it out with you. And I took that first bump. I was hooked. I knew I could do this. I don't know what it was, because it wasn't a pleasant, bump, right? It doesn't feel good. Most people think it's trampoline. It is not even close. But it was at that moment, I was like, I can do this. And then I was obsessed with it, and you couldn't have told me any different. My girlfriend, bless her heart, on the weekends, we're supposed to be spending time. We're going to independent matches, in little barns and terrible looking places and armories. And I had to tell her, like, one day this is going to pay off. She still ended up marrying me, by the way. I don't know why. But yeah, thank God. That was, we've been married for, I think it's 24 years now.
You think it is?
2000, is that right? 24 years. August will be 25. So we're doing good. That might be the only thing I actually was right about, is one day this was going to pay off. Luckily it did, because it was torture to her. Like, go on a date to an indie show. This sucks.
Was there a point where it didn't feel like it was going to pay off?
I don't know. I feel like things happen pretty quick. Yeah. I got in the ring way before I was supposed to, because I could do flips. And a month into training, I was already in the ring. That's way dumb. But the opportunity to learn from guys in the ring while you're wrestling is, I think, the best way to learn, and you better learn quick or nobody's going to want to wrestle you. So I was a sponge, man. Anytime someone told me something, they only had to tell me once. I was going to make sure that I remembered it. And it just kind of took off from there. And then we had a kind of a developmental with WCW at the time. we had some big, that was the first time I met Bob Sapp. He came in and became friends with him because he was doing his thing for WCW. And a lot of the other guys were there from WCW. And so while they were watching their guys, they were able to see Air Paris and myself wrestling and having decent matches and doing some crazy stuff. And that's how we got our opportunity in WCW.
We're wrestling fans, and we love a good movie about pro wrestling. Have you heard about the new movie called Queen of the Ring, which opens up nationwide on March 7th? It tells the incredible true story of Mildred Burke. She's a single mother from the Midwest who had one dream: to become a pro wrestler. But this was the 1930s, and women's wrestling was outlawed across the country. That didn't stop our friend Mildred. No, she defied the odds, trained in secret, and fought her way to the top, proving that women did belong in the ring. And she made history by becoming a champion and paving the way for every woman in wrestling today. You'll also see some familiar faces in there like Toni Storm, Camille, Naomi, and Jim Cornette. Make sure you check out Queen of the Ring when it opens up in theaters nationwide on March 7th.
What was the first big break for you?
I think that was it. That was the first big break. It's like, wow, I get a chance to wrestle. I mean, before that, I'd done extra stuff, in WCW, but it was that chance to get in there and do it in a WCW ring. In Baltimore, as a matter of fact. They gave us a tryout in Baltimore, Air Paris and myself, and kind of busted out the shooting star to the floor in that match and other things that I'm sure I'd hate now watching, But that was we were only into, I started in 99. By 2001, I was in WCW.
Wow.
That's kind of quick.
Yeah.
So I was at the right place, the right time, the right guys watching.
How close were you at that point in time to maybe possibly going to WWE?
I don't think it was close at all.
Didn't they offer you a developmental deal?
So it was after WCW went under, right? So I'd been under contract with WCW for 5 months. Johnny Ace calls me and said, WWE's not picking up your contract. And it freaking broke me. So I went to and felt sorry for myself for about a good week. And that was like, all right, here we go. And so I believe, I'm trying to think how quickly it happened. I want to say that at that moment, I believe the NWA was having their 53rd anniversary. And I believe that was in Petersburg, Florida. Does that sound right? Petersburg? Anyway, somewhere down in Florida.
Yeah.
And some Japanese guys are going to be down there. And I was like, I'm going to go down there. I'm going to wrestle. They're going to want me. I'm going to go to Japan, wrestle. That's how I'm going to make it back.
Wow.
I went down there.
Yeah.
I wrestled Christopher Daniels for the first time. First time we met, first time we wrestled. And we connected, man. Like it was perfect. Our timing was the same. Everything was, and Chris for Daniels at that time was like, if you can't have a good match with him, you might as well quit. And we gelled so well. After that match, I really started traveling a lot. But I think during that time of doing indies and traveling a lot, I want to say that's when I was offered. I did 2 dark matches for WWE, and I was offered a contract for $500 a week. Oh, I'm sorry, $500. Yeah, it was a week. $500 a week to move to Cincinnati. And I'm sure you've heard this story before, but I was like, wait. So I have to move to Cincinnati and I'll make $500 a week, the same amount of money I was making at my bottled water job, and I'm going to have to pay a lot more taxes on that $500 that I'm making. And I'm just thinking all this stuff in my head. My wife can't move with me. She's in college, about to finish. She's going to be a teacher. And I was like, this just doesn't sound right. And I believed in my heart that I was making the right decision. And I even told Johnny, as much as I'd love to come up there and train, I just could not have my wife moving with their parents. I didn't think that was right. My job is to take care of her, not the other way around.
It's just crazy to think you were saying no to WWE at that time.
I said no. I said no. I mean, I said no to a developmental that's never promised, right?
Like, true, yeah.
HWA was the developmental back then. But you know what? Not only was it the best decision because, TNA would happen shortly after that in 2002, but HWA stopped being a developmental for them shortly after that as well. So I am guaranteed to not have made it through that cut again. Like I wouldn't have made it. I mean, I wasn't a big guy. What did I have to offer them? There was no, smaller guys really that did anything in WWE at that time. So I think it worked out pretty good based on what happened.
And you were the perfect person at the perfect time in TNA.
Again, I remember Jerry Jarrett. I was told that they were doing an independent show. I didn't really know much about it. They were looking for talent. I didn't think anything about it. It was just another indie show, and I was getting money to do it. Now, okay, I can do it. Drive up to Nashville. Me and David Young had a match that we've had before. Just turned it up a little bit because they wanted to see more. That was it. I didn't think much of it. And again, I was at the right place at the right time with the right guy watching.
Yeah.
And, shortly after that, now I'm with TNA. So I'm going up, I think was it every Wednesday?
It was every Wednesday for what, $9.99?
Yeah.
I think, right?
Yeah. Well, again, I'm not thinking anything.
This is still NWA TNA.
It's NWA TNA. Yeah. We still had girls dancing in the cages, So, yeah, I didn't think much of it. I didn't think it was going to last. I'm sure no one did. And based on what happened, it shouldn't have lasted, because I think I don't want to say they got scammed, or maybe it is, and they were supposed to get this, they didn't get that. Not as many people could see it as we thought. And luckily, the Carters came in and kind of picked that thing up. And then after about 3 months of being on NWA TNA, I was like, oh, I guess this is a thing now, And then it kind of grew pretty quick after that. So
when did you start to feel like the guy in TNA?
Oh no, I don't.
Stop being modest.
I'm serious. Like, I believe that I could have good matches with anybody, but I felt like there was always someone that I can learn from. And as long as there's always someone I can learn from, and to me, if I can learn from you, that means you're a bigger star. And I always felt like those guys I was still surrounded by those guys because we had Sting come in. And I respect that guy so much, such a nice guy, and I was thank God he wasn't some of these other heroes that other guys have met, but mine was freaking awesome. That was Sting. And then, we got Kevin Nash, Booker T. Like, I learned something from all these guys. And then Kurt Angle, as it progressed, these are the guys that I'm in the ring with, learning from. So I just never felt like I was that guy. I think I really felt like I was doing something right as a star when I turned into Lone Wolf AJ. I felt like that was really coming into my own, doing what I wanted to do, being who I wanted to be. I think that one helped a lot because there's a part of it that was very real, so it was easy to get in character.
I just remember seeing my first ever X Division match and just being like, I love this. And it's like, it's you and it's Joe and it's Daniels and Frankie Kazarian and Amazing Red, like the talent that was around there. Low key.
Yeah.
The mid 2000s was insane. Sanjay Dutt, like so many talented, insanely talented people.
Chris Sabin, Alex Shelley, like all those guys were there. I mean, it was stacked and everybody knew it. And we were doing something special. And, even the Ultimate X match was special. It was different. It was weird. Like the 6-sided ring was different. It made us different. It sucked as a ring.
Really?
Oh, I didn't realize how rough it was on my body until we got back to a squared ring. And I was like, oh my God, I forgot that these are much better to bump in.
The ropes or the actual mat?
The actual mat, because it's pillars under the 6-sided ring, the pillars, so you can move them in and out. Where in a squared ring, it's in the middle, right? That bounce, whatever you might get. You could take a bump right on that pillar. So you can imagine that hurts. And so there was a point in time where we were overseas and we're in England and it was a big show, and Kurt and I, we're wrestling, and he was going to give me the belly off the top. I remember taking that. I go, I'm never taking that again. Don't ask me, Kurt. It's killing me. And then, of course, we get in the squared ring. He's like, hey, do you mind? I'm like, oh, okay. And he gave me it in a squared ring. And I was like, oh, I landed, and it was like nothing compared to what it was. I was like, oh, I can take it. And right then and there, as pissed off as I was about going to a squared ring and abandoning the 6-sided ring, it was at that moment I go, I'm okay with the squared ring now.
But just from a fundamental standpoint of just like optics, were you upset when they got rid of the 6-sided ring?
That's it, because that's who we were.
Yeah.
When you saw TNA and you saw a 6-sided ring, you knew that was TNA. No one were doing that, maybe in Mexico, but we made it who we were.
Yeah.
And I think they lost their identity to a certain extent when they went to, just a regular ring, just like everybody else.
It was a few things. It was the 6-sided ring, and the way the camera moved on the jib.
Oh, yeah.
Nobody was doing that at that point in time.
Yeah.
Like the camera would move all the way around on a arc.
Yeah. And they did some innovative stuff. It's easy to know if you've, done something well in another company, if WWE then starts doing it.
Yeah.
Like, that's a good idea. We'll do it too.
Yeah.
And their production's always better, but if I were running a company and you were doing something that translated well to fans, guess what? I'm going to do it too.
My most rewatchable match of all time is Unbreakable 2005. So it's you and Samoa Joe and Christopher Daniels. Just take me to that week. You're setting up this match, and it's going to be different, but you probably don't know it's going to be that great.
No,
that great.
Because we've wrestled each other so much, not necessarily in triple threats, but we've wrestled each other. We know each other very well. It could have been better.
No.
We went home way earlier than we were supposed to. We got mixed up in a spot. Joe did something. I was like, wait, are we supposed to be going here? Nope. Bam, we did it anyway. So we ad-libbed a good 10 minutes of that match. All of that at the end is totally ad-libbed. Like, thank God we knew each other so well, because we could just communicate and get to where we needed to be. So it could have been really good. It was just good.
But did you know afterwards, and even though we ad-libbed it, that was special?
We knew it was good because we pulled out some pretty cool stuff within that match that we hadn't done before.
Yeah.
We knew it was good, but we didn't know people were going to, praise it as much as they did. We know we're just going out there doing our thing. This is what we do,
That's the type of match, though, that if you weren't watching TNA at that point in time, you watch that match and you go, well, how can I not watch this?
Yeah, well, that's a good thing, right? And I think we were the main event of that pay-per-view. So it definitely worked out. And I don't think an X Division match had been the main event until then. So we knew that we had to put on a show, but then again, we weren't stressed to the point where, oh God, this is a make or break for us. No, we just went out there and did what we did, and it just worked out perfect for 3 guys who know each other. I can call Samoa Joe's moves, I can call Christopher Daniels' moves, I can call all their moves to them, and they could do the same with each other and myself. Yeah. So we knew each other so well, it almost didn't matter that we kind of went home a little early because we found a way to make it work.
What's the biggest difference between that version of you 20 years ago and this version of you that wrestles now?
I think it's intensity. I'm very, very intense. And this, like I blow myself up, bringing the intensity rather than running the ropes. Because I want them to see this anger. Like when AJ gets in the ring, it snaps. Like I'm a different person. Like I will smile before and after, but when we step through those ropes, I'm going to take somebody's head off. Like I want you to see it in everything that I do. I want you to think, I think this guy's really pissed. He may hurt me. Like I want them to get the idea of who I am. So I've turned up that intensity, and little things like flips and stuff like that. They're cool if they're done at the right place at the right time, because I've realized that people don't remember wrestling. They remember moments, and I want to make moments happen rather than, the wrestling. And sometimes it's those little things in between the wrestling that are the biggest spots. Like I want people to watch my match and go, wow, that was good. Mm-hmm. And then someone asks, well, what was so good about it? Like, I don't know. It just was. And it's because of all those little things in between that make the match.
How long did it take you to realize you didn't need to do flip after flip after flip in order to have a great match?
Oh man, slowly but surely it dawned on me. I remember being at an indie show, and there's so many great guys at that time that were doing the indies, and by the time I got out there, every flip had been done. I was like, well, I don't know what to do, so I did just a regular house show dive, but really try to make it as pretty as I can. And I got the same reaction had I just jumped over the top rope and done a crazy flip. I was like, wait a minute. If that's all I have to do, let me make sure that I, make the little things look like they're effortless and beautiful. And rather than do something that could, I could get dropped on my head or somebody not catch me at all, this seems a lot easier. And how can I keep doing that and using it at the right time rather than every time?
Are there moves you can't do now?
I can't do the spiral tap.
At all?
I can't.
I bet you could pull it out.
Listen, it's scary because it's a front flip and they end up twisting. And so, if you don't use it, you lose it. That's real. And I'm a little scared that I can't pull it off the way that I have before. And until I get back in some gymnastic place and work on it, it's just not going to happen.
When was the last time you did a spiral tap?
That's a good question. I don't know. Maybe Matt Hardy when him and I wrestled in TNA. Maybe it was Bubba. I can't remember.
So 10 plus years ago.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I've lost it. It's a different kind of flip. It's not the same. Even when I watch other guys do it, I still don't do it like them.
No, they don't do it like you.
That's a better way of saying it. So yeah, they like to twist themselves as they're coming off. I don't want twist. I want to peak and then turn. So it's a little bit different. So there's a stalling involved to make it look beautiful and then go. But I've kind of lost it, man.
How did you realize you could even do it?
Wow, that's I remember. So in WCW, I was doing the shooting star to the floor. Billy Kidman hated me. Hate was like he would call me AJ Stills, and I wanted to hurt him so bad. Legit. But he was Kidman at that time in WCW. Can't be touched. All right. So they asked me if I wanted to do shooting sparring. I was like, no, I won't do it.
Because it's Kidman.
It's Kidman's move. I'll just do something that he can't. And that's how I came up with the spiral tap.
Wow.
So, yeah, all because Kidman hated me doing the shooting star press, but at the time he wasn't doing it. So they did come back and started doing it. So kudos to him.
I always loved the backflip into the reverse DDT.
Yeah, so that's something I got from Dragon Kid. I mean, guys in my era of wrestling, we watched everything. WCW, WWE, old school, Japan, Noah, All Japan, New Japan, Michinoku Pro. Like we watched all this stuff. And so while we were tape trading, I got one of Dragon Kid doing the backflip catch, and he put you in the Dragon Sleeper. Right? And I go, well, I'm a big fan of Sting. What if I flip, catch, right into the Scorpion Death Drop? That's how that came up. Now, we still don't have a name for it. I think they've called it the Phenomenal something. I don't know. But I was like, hey, I'm going to hit you with the back flip slop drop. Yeah. Doesn't sound as cool, I know. But I think it was the Styling DDT. Maybe that's what it was called. But, I was never, I had a couple moves where I've told, guys the name of it. They were like, what? Why don't you, they wanted me to name it something else. I'm like, sorry, man, I don't.
When was the last time you did that? I don't think you've done that in WWE, have you?
Oh yeah, I've done it but there's guys that are capable of understanding what it is. Some guys don't know, and so for those who know, it makes perfect sense. It's an easy move for them to take. For those who've they don't understand it, it can get sloppy real quick. So you got to pick and choose who you do it with, so it turns out right. Not everybody can do these moves, and not because they've not practiced them. If you came up on the indies, you had to be able to know how to do everything. And I think that's why so many of us, in that era of, we were able to do everything. We could take everything. We could do everything. And, aside from Joe, we were all kind of the similar size. We weren't too big. We weren't too small. We were right there in the middle. So
Yeah.
we could work anybody. Joe he's such an amazing athlete that he's not supposed to be able to do the things that he does. And he's unbelievable. He's unbelievable. So not everybody's a Samoa Joe. There's nobody like him.
Yeah, nobody moves like him.
Man, he's amazing. And I remember people being intimidated by Joe. And I was like, have you ever worked him? They go, no, dude. I was like, he is so good that he has scared you when he hadn't even touched me in the ring, but it makes it look like he's killing me. Like, that's how good he is. So, yeah, Samoa Joe is one of the best.
When you were doing your best work in TNA, was there ever an opportunity during any of that point to get scooped up and go to WWE?
No one ever really said anything to me, but I'll tell you, there was an instance when Christian and Dixie came out and kind of it was a big meeting, and Dixie came out and said, listen, and basically said something to the fact, like, if you don't want to be here, we'll let you go. And at that moment, I looked over at Christian to see what he was going to do.
What year would this be?
It's got to be 2009,
okay,
8, 10, I don't know, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
But I was watching him because I looked up to Christian. Like, he's amazing too. This is guy's like, he's a ring general for sure. And I was watching him to see if he got up, because if he had gotten up.
I was like, you had to leave during that meeting?
I don't know when she expected us to leave, but I kind of felt like she was saying, hey, you can go now.
Wow.
And I was seriously, if he would have got up, I would have got up too. And hopefully he would have got me in the WWE or something.
But there were never any like, hey, when's your contract up? We'd like to chat with you.
No, never really heard anything. Never. So.
And it wasn't even like when you did leave TNA, there was a gap before debuting in WWE.
Yeah. Yeah. Even there was talks about Japan, but they had already, like, I remember them thinking that, oh, he doesn't want to come here. He wants to do the TNA stuff. I'm like, well, no, his contract's not over. Wait, And
the contract ended in 2014.
Yes.
And you debuted at the Rumble in 2016. So there was, a year and a bit?
Yeah, yeah. And even I think there were a couple months in between. I did Ring of Honor and stuff like that before I went to, it just kind of, the timing kind of worked out because Finn was leaving and we literally just switched places, except he went to WWE and I went to Japan.
Was something happening at TNA in that point in time? Because think about it. You left in 2016. Bobby Roode left in 2016. Kurt Angle left in 2016. I think some other people as well. What was going on at that point?
They hired Hulk Hogan, Eric Bischoff, and I believe Eric was trying to do the right thing to see where we're at, as far as getting people more eyes on us, that we're growing. And unfortunately, it didn't work out the way it was supposed to. We lost a lot of money. I think I was kind of pissed at Hogan at the time because I was like, why does he talk about TNA? Why does he not helping us? Why? He's not advertising at all. His book or whatever it is he was writing at the time, and the shows that he never talked about TNA. I was pissed, but I now realize I think he was embarrassed. It was embarrassing to him to talk about that. So he did it. And, I think Dixie was trying to do some things, and it was just they keep butting heads. So it just kind of fell apart. And when it fell apart, they lost a lot of money. When they lost a lot of money, they expected me to take a pay cut. My contract was up. And
is that number right? 60% pay cut?
It was.
60% pay cut for a guy who's been there 12 years.
And has done nothing but good work there.
You were the face of TNA.
And they didn't say they were going to, the dates are not going to be as many. They didn't say that either.
Oh, 60% less dates. You'd be like, all right.
Plus the same amount of travel and everything. And then, so I was like, it was one of those things. I was like, man, this ain't right. On principle alone, I can't be here anymore. And I think they expected me to stay anyway. There was I remember the day before Thanksgiving, John, what's Big John's last name? He works for WWE now. Sorry, John, I don't know your name anymore. Anyway.
Big John.
He called me because, hey, I'm over at a friend's house having Thanksgiving. And he says, hey, we're going to have you drop the championship, the next show, I go, okay, all right, no problem. Because I think they were expecting me to go, hold on a second, wait, I'll sign. But I was like, man, I'm not going to do this with you. You want me to lose? That's fine. I can lose. And then I'm going to figure it out and we're going to be all right. It was, again, timing was perfect. I didn't know it at the time. I was a little scared because now, after leaving TNA, if I don't work, I don't get paid. That's how that works.
Yeah.
So I can't get hurt. And, for like 3 months, I think, before I started New Japan, I was hustling. And then Japan happened and it really blew up. That was, again, timing again, you know? So, yeah.
What would your career look like, do you think, if you had gone to WWE much earlier?
Wouldn't have worked. I don't think I was sure who AJ Styles was exactly. I don't think I was mature enough to, I don't want to say mature enough. Maybe it was, I wasn't going to be bullied. I promise you that. And I think some of that went on. I'm just not that type of guy. I mean, I'll take a little bit, then I'm going to start swinging. I'm not going to get bullied. That's just how I was raised different. So I'm not saying everybody was like that, but I've heard some of that stuff goes on. I'm not one of those guys that goes out and drinking with the guys and just, I'm not doing that. I don't think it worked out. It would have worked out for me. The time that I spent in Japan and the way that I wrestled there, I just brought that same guy to WWE, at least by the second match I had. The first match, I was trying to be what I thought they wanted. And to Vince's credit, he told me what he wanted. And I was like, oh, I know that guy. I know him. I'm going to give you that guy because that's who I wanted to be anyway.
It also felt like it took you a little while to find out who you were. Like the charisma you had later in your TNA run is a lot more of what we see now.
Yes.
Versus the promos you were cutting early in TNA.
Well, because if you don't believe in what you're saying, it's hard to get into whatever that character is. Even when I was the Prince of Phenomenal, like I enjoyed that as much as people hated it because I was able to show a different part of AJ Styles, be a little goofy, do a little goofy things, with Christian and then Kurt Angle and all that stuff that we did. That was good television to me, as much as people hate it, but turns into Lone Wolf AJ Styles, which essentially is who you got in Japan. Mm-hmm. Just turned up a little bit more, having a little bit more fun rather than being angry the whole time. That's all that was.
What's the scariest moment you've had in the ring?
Oh, I can tell you. Ultimate X, Chris Sabin, myself, and Petey Williams, which I think is a fantastic match.
It is.
If you ever watch it back.
Yep.
For some reason, I thought it was such a good idea that if I could hang from the rope, and Sabin, I knew was very capable of springboarding, drop kicking me to the point where I'll do, I guess it's an inside out swing front flip. Like when he hit me, I let go and I go, oh my God. As I'm coming down, I was able to think to myself, I'm about to land on the back of my head and I'm probably not going to get up from this. And I'm thinking about this as I go, I'm going down and I land perfect. And that I was like laying there selling, going, I'm never, ever doing that again. Ever will do that again. Yeah, that was the scariest time.
That was, you were heading on, like, it looked like you were about to land on your head.
Oh man, I thought it was. I literally thought it was. If you could see me, I am tucked so hard trying to make sure that I made it. I didn't think I was going to. I thought I was literally landing on the back of my head. I'd have been out cold for sure.
There was a spot in a cage match where you jump off the cage and I think you must have clipped the edge of the cage. Nobody catches you.
Oh no, I should have known better. I should have known. Not a soul caught me. They fall down but no one called me.
They didn't catch you.
I mean, I just ate the mat, and it was my idea. So, you know what? I mean, you're in there with a bunch of guys who, they're getting closer to the end of their career. Do they really want to risk catching a kid that will be fine even if we don't catch him? It's my fault.
That landing was like boom, splat.
I don't even think I hit anybody with my hands. They just kind of fell like I went bowling or something like that, but I didn't touch anybody.
How did you even get the idea in Lethal Lockdown? The ladder's going to be on top of that. And then you're going to climb and you're going to hang from like the lighting scaffold.
I have no idea who thought that was a good idea. It probably was me. But because it was me and James Storm that got up there and started fighting, I believe.
Yeah.
And I remember James being like, dude, what if we go through it? What if we go through the top of the cage? I was like, oh, I hope that didn't happen. So when we go through, you'll see his hands come out like this to grab. So if he started going through, he was going to hang on to something. But it worked out, It was fun. That was an easy bump for both of us, I think.
Did you ever have an idea? Because you did insane stuff in TNA. You've done insane stuff in WWE too. But did you ever have an idea where you're like, man, that's too much. I can't do that.
Oh, man. Not in TNA. I mean, it's pretty, there was a spot where Petey Williams and I were talking. He goes, hey, what if I give you this German suplex and you gut yourself on the guardrail? I'll have you on the apron and German suplex you. You do the flip bump and gut yourself on the guardrail. What a terrible idea that is. We tried it, but when I went to jump, I could feel it just yank me back. Instead of up, I went back. And so I just ate that guardrail on my back from a German. Oh, man. I've had some terrible ideas that didn't go as planned, but then I've had some good ones that turned out to be all right.
I remember watching Elevation X live, and Rhino's lining you up for a gore, and I am worried for both of your well-being at this point.
Yeah.
Like, how is Rhino not going to fall? And also, how are you not going to fall taking a gore 20 feet above the ring?
Weakest gore ever given, I think, because I don't know if he was genuinely like scared of heights, but it sure did look like it. Like, I was okay with it, and I'll tell you this, that match, Rhino was scheduled to lose. I was like, he can't fall off this thing. He'll break his ankles. Like, he's too big. Like, I have to lose. I have to fall. Like, we can't let him do this. He's going to get hurt. And so that's how that happened. But I thought it was very clever. And Rhino, credit to him, had a lot of these good ideas. It's like, just hide and we'll have the crowd tell me where you are. And it worked out so good. Again, that's one of those matches that this is going to be terrible. It turned out to be really, really good. I thought it was very entertaining. And even just like you, the fans were actually scared for us.
Yes.
And so, because it was high. You look back at it, like, holy crap, that was way up there. And you got what, maybe 1.5 feet, 2 feet at the most, as far as a scaffold to walk around on. It was, yeah. I think for what we had, we made it work better than anybody thought we could.
So you guys know that I'm always keeping an eye on what I eat, but I want it to taste good. I think that's the most important thing here. Check out this from Magic Spoon. Magic Spoon has turned their super popular high-protein cereal into high-protein treats that are light, crispy, and taste just like those classic cereal bars. Magic Spoon's treats are so delicious, and this is my on-the-go gym snack. I bring it with me to the gym, or I bring it with me on a flight, like for this interview that I'm recording here. Magic Spoon also launched a brand new high-protein granola. So true to what Magic Spoon does and the Magic Spoon promise, it's packed with protein and so crunchy and sweet, perfect for breakfast, perfect for snacking. This is something I love having every day. Magic Spoon's high protein treats are an easy way to get 12 grams of protein on the go, and they come in mouth-watering flavors like marshmallow, chocolate peanut butter, and dark chocolate. The granola packs 13 grams of protein with 0 added sugars, and they come in flavors like honey almond and peanut butter. You can't beat those macros. These are great for a meal, they're great as a snack, they're great as a midnight snack. Get $5 off your next order when you go to magicspoon.com/CVV or check them out on Amazon or your local grocery store. That's magicspoon.com/CVV to save $5 on your next order.
What do you think of the prime years of TNA?
Prime years of TNA. I just remember 2005 really starting. I remember Frankie Kazarian going out, and it was one of the first matches on the pay-per-view. And I was like, let's go, Frankie. Start us off, bro. And man, it was exciting because you knew we were growing. Spike TV, I believe, we were part of that going on, and we knew we were growing. And that was exciting. I thought those were some really good years. And then we introduced Joe, and he's freaking killing everybody. And it's just Kurt Angle.
Like, Christian arrives in 05.
Yeah.
Angle arrives in 06. Like those years.
Joe, I think Joe arrived in
04 or 05?
Something around in there, right? It just
some TNA historian in the comments.
Yeah,
Like,
they'll let us know. Yeah. It kind of all runs together, but it was just some really, really cool moments. Like we got Christian, we got Kurt Angle. Like nobody knew about Kurt.
Yeah, that was a legit secret, right?
Oh man, nobody knew. We saw the video. We're all watching. Oh, what is this? And then Kurt, like, whoa, holy cow! So yeah, it was an exciting time, man. It really was. And we were all, I feel like we were all kind of the way some of the NXT kids are. I see this in them, where they know each other by their real names because they've been training together and they want to see each other succeed and do well. That's the way we were. We weren't trying to stab each other in the back. We wanted each other to do really, really well. Still the show, man. We want you to do it, because it's only going to make what we're doing better. And everybody was like that. It was a really cool time.
It is impossible to have a TNA Mount Rushmore without AJ Styles' face on there. So please do not be modest for the next minute or two.
Okay.
Your face is on there. Who are the other three?
I'm biased though.
That's fine.
Because I'm going to put my guys on there. The guys that I had unbelievable matches. Christopher Daniels, Samoa Joe.
Then we got one more spot and that's it.
I know. See, that's the problem. I think a lot of people would see Kurt because he was there for the long con.
And he had his best matches in TNA.
Well, he was, a lot of people don't know, he was in TNA longer than he was in WWE.
It's so funny when, it's a fun fact that people don't remember.
It's crazy.
Don't know.
I would throw Frankie Kazarian in that conversation too. So he had him. We're talking about low key was unbelievable. To see this guy. And there's so many Chris
James
Sabin, James Storm, Chris Harris even. They were a big part of the growth.
Think of the moments Elix Skipper had.
Beer money.
I
mean, Elix Skipper, I'll tell you this story. I remember he walked the cage.
Yes.
And done that unbelievable. I've never seen anything like that to that point or ever again.
Yeah.
And he was going home the next day. I went to Jeff and was like, are we going to really send him home?
After that?
After he did that? And he thought about it, I guess. He was like, so Elix ended up staying the next day for TV because it was just so unbelievable. But there's so many guys, though, that made such a big difference. I mean, it's hard to put a Mount Rushmore together because everybody has their moment and how they got there and how much they meant to TNA. So
the unsung heroes of TNA, especially during that era, are Mike Tenay and Don West.
Oh, wow. Yeah. 100%. 100%. Mike Tenay it's Mike Tenay.
He's a legend.
Right? He knew. And Don, not knowing exactly what to do, but learning quickly, did an excellent job. I don't care what anybody says. He made it exciting. And I think partly because he was a fan. He was watching from a fan standpoint, which I thought made it really well done.
Some of his calls, are you freaking kidding me?
Yeah.
It's yes, that's exactly how we feel.
Yes, yeah. I mean, listen, I have a buddy at home that I bounce stuff off. I have ideas because he's more of a fan and I'm seeing it from a different. And when you have someone like that to kind of bounce stuff off, it makes sense, oh, wow, yeah, that's stupid. Or no, that'll work.
Yeah.
So it helps having someone like that. And I think that's what Don West gave TNA.
Yeah, absolute. When I watch old TNA and I hear their commentary, it's they are such an underrated commentary duo.
I agree.
Absolutely.
100%.
2016, are you at a crossroads here? Do you have the option to go back to TNA or the option to go to WWE?
So I think I just burped in my mouth. Anyway, so a lot of people didn't know this, but Samoa Joe and I are very close. They know that, but they didn't know that I knew that someone may have talked to Shinsuke Nakamura. And we're still in New Japan. Joe tells me, Shinsuke's leaving. I was like, really? Shinsuke's the number 2 guy there by far. Tanahashi, Shin. So I was like, I talked to the boys. I go, I think it's time to pack up. I think we may have peaked if Shinsuke's leaving. And then we started I think TNA kind of hit me up. And I go, well, what about Gallows and Anderson? And we started talking. We had a meeting with them. They wanted us to sign something, I think we may have signed something to say that it couldn't hold us to anything. It was just saying that we agreed to pay this much. And then during that time, Terry Taylor, who I'm close with, kind of hits me up and just see how I was doing. And I shot him a picture because I was holding my daughter at the time. We just had a little girl. And he's like, what? What is that? And, I was like, yeah, I don't know how I made a little girl either. I have 3 boys, now a little girl. And we just started talking. And then a picture of a dude wearing a hat came up on the internet. It looked like me walking around at NXT. It wasn't me. I don't know who it was. But something started circulating.
And everybody thought it was you.
Yeah. So I was like, hey, Terry, is there anything to this? Do they want to see AJ Styles in WWE? Is this a possibility? He's like, listen, don't let your ego get in the way. I was like, no, that's not what I'm doing. I'm just saying if there's money to be made, I'd like to make it if it's there. And he goes, well, let me talk to Triple H. And he had see if he called and said, I guess him and H talking, Triple H was going to give me a call. Went by, a month or whatever. Terry calls, hey, did you talk to Triple H? I go, no. He goes, what? I'm going to call him again. So I remember being at Ring of Honor. I was in my hotel room. And then Triple H calls. And we had a really good conversation, a 30-minute conversation that was really good. Sounded great. And I was like, oh. And nothing had happened with TNA at that time, nothing. So I just, the ball started moving pretty quick. I told him, hey, they said, as me and Triple H were talking, like the next time, I said, well, I know I got these 2 other guys, Gallows and Anderson. And he goes, I don't know if we're interested in them. I think we're, I was like, okay, I understand. But then the next conversation, yeah, we're taking all of you. I was like, perfect. And then TNA gets wind of, some stuff and they're like, hey, if you don't apologize, I'm like, for what? I ain't telling you nothing. Get out of here, man. Big John again. So, yeah, everything worked out and the ball started rolling really quick. And this, I don't know if this story's been told, but when we decided that we are going to WWE, me, Gallows and Anderson, we were kind of going over a match in New Japan in a room, and we were like, we're going to tell them together that we're going to do this. And I looked over and Carl is talking to Ghetto, like, what is he doing? I thought we were going to, and because I saw this, oh, no, and so I was like, oh no. And so we all kind of let the cat out of the bag there. And it was just kind of it was heartbreaking because New Japan was so good to us. So good. But in my head, I thought maybe we had peaked and that maybe it was time to move on and try something new and go back home. And nothing but respect for New Japan and everything they were able to provide and the business they did. It was amazing. No better place that I've been to till that point, right? But changes were made, and within that, I mean, I wrestled the 6th of January. I believe the 5th was Wrestle Kingdom. I think that's right. 5th, and then maybe the 7th. So I don't know what it is.
Anyway, 6th every year, isn't it?
Is it the 6th or 5th or 6th or something like that? Who knows? We'll find. They'll tell us. Wrestled in Corgan Hall, Kenny Omega, and the rest of the Bullet Club beat me up. Oddly enough, 5th. Maybe it's 5th. Gallows, I think you're right.
I think you're right. Yeah.
Gallows and Anderson also beat me. I'm like, what are you doing? You know what we're about to do. What are you doing? But for some reason, Carl couldn't wait to punch me, So, but then I think 2 months after that, they finally show up in Japan or in WWE. But like I said, did we decide whether or not it's the 5th or 6th? Either way,
the first week of January.
I came home to Atlanta, the airport, My family came up. We ate at a restaurant. I got back on the plane. I never went home to my house and flew to Pittsburgh to get all the medical stuff done. So from Japan to Pittsburgh, never going home. And then I think the next week I had a independent show in England. And I think I didn't know if I was going to the Rumble. And I believe I said, if I get the opportunity, I'm going to kick some tail, And everybody was like, yeah. And I was like, no, I'm not going, guys. And sure enough, I was going. I didn't know it. They flew me into Tampa rather than Orlando, so they kind of kept it a secret, which was really cool. And yeah, nobody really let it out. We'd said there was a possibility, but nobody expected it. So it was really cool in 2016 to walk out, for sure.
Did you know if the audience was going to know who you were?
Gosh, dude. I'd been in Japan for almost 2 years. Independent scene. TNA, which in the grand scheme of things isn't that big. Would they know who I am? I don't know. And it was one of the best moments in my wrestling career to walk out and have them make the noise that they made. Oh, man. Like, that moment I will never forget because I was so terrified that I wouldn't get anything. And Vince wasn't going to have me out he wasn't going to have me out third. In his head, nobody knew who I was. And, for me, I thought he's probably right. But everybody else who spoke up for me, who had worked with me previously, maybe in TNA or whatever, they're like, I'm telling you, it's going to work. And man, did it. It was an amazing moment. I didn't really talk to Vince about what I should do. I didn't run to the ring. I just walked and enjoyed the moment. I wish I'd have been more pumped about it rather than just looking at people with a straight face. But it was a very, very cool moment.
I was there.
Oh, shoot.
And we popped for the word phenomenal because the word phenomenal comes up on the screen, which they actually missed when you watch it live.
Yeah.
But everybody there is cheering. Oh my God, it's AJ. Like, we didn't think it was possible.
Well, what was a cool moment though, is that you guys made so much noise. The folks at home were like, what is it?
Yes.
Who is it?
Yes.
So it was kind of cool that it worked out that way. But yeah, that was such a unbelievable moment.
Was there a point in your career where you just didn't think WWE was going to happen?
Oh, yeah. Oh, I just knew I wasn't going to have a WrestleMania moment. I was never going to have one. And I was okay with it. I dealt with that. Like, just because someone may say that I'm not successful because I've never went to WWE, that's for them. But for me, I'm successful because I found a way to take care of my family. And at the end of the day, that's what I'm doing. If I were get paid anything, I probably wouldn't be wrestling. So the fact that I was able to do something I love and provide for my family, that's successful to me.
Yeah. It's almost like your career, you've had 2 Hall of Fame careers. You were a Hall of Famer for sure in TNA, Hall of Famer for sure now in WWE. And it's amazing because, yes, it's the same guy. It's AJ Styles, but it's kind of 2 different versions of you too.
100%.
And when you look at that guy, especially when you look at like 2005 AJ, clean cut, short hair, you're in good shape, but you're not in this shape.
Well, I mean, it's one of those things that your body's going to change, whether you like it or not. And you better figure it out as soon as you can because for some reason you're going to get wider and not in a good way. Like you're not as slim, as trim as you used to be. Like there's different ways of doing different things. Like everything changes as you get older and you have to figure it out because if you don't, it's going to take a toll on you and you're going to hate the way you look and it's going to go, you're going to get what they call the what the hell effect. And you're just going, freak, I'll just have a piece of cake, and that's what happens.
Yeah. One piece of cake turns into 2 pieces of cake.
Yes. And you just go down that road.
Right.
And so my buddy who I've known for 40 years, so we played T-ball together. He kept telling me to come and get in his cold plunge. I'm like, I'm not doing that. I don't want to get in the cold plunge. He's like, I'm telling you, it's probably one of the best things you can do. And one day I just went over there and worked out with him and it was terrible. It was getting in that cold plunge has literally changed my life.
Yeah, I'm a cold plunge guy too.
It like that 3 minutes, the first time I get in there, I was dying.
3 minutes at a cold plunge feels like 3 hours. If you want time to slow down, Getting a cold plunge.
Oh, 100%. 100%. But those endorphins you get when you get out it's addicting. And that's what happened to me. Now, I will say this. I have a cold plunge. I get in it. If I'm going to work out, I'll get in. I'll get in today. Mm-hmm. If I work out, I will cold plunge before I work out. And I don't ever want to get in. That's
a funny thing, right? Your brain starts playing tricks on you.
Mm-hmm. You know what it's going to feel like.
Yeah.
You've already done this. You know. Yeah. It just sucks getting that cold water. But anything worth doing is not going to be, easy. It's going to suck. But the benefits are unbelievable. So just suck it up I go 5 minutes. And I think I only have mine. I don't have mine I think I'm at 42 degrees.
That's cold.
When you get the 30s, your feet start hurting real bad. I don't like that. So
recovery is a big part of what you're doing now then.
Yeah.
Dude. Sauna as well.
Because I was just talking about this today as a couple of my friends have gotten the flu and whatnot, and I've been around them. I haven't. I think it has a lot to do with the cold plunge and the sauna. I'm sweating out toxins. I think it has a lot to do with that. I could be wrong. That's in my head that I'm building up the immune system, doing the stuff to myself, and maybe I don't have to worry about cold and flu and all that stuff as much.
But when you came back looking this jacked, that's a decision. That's a decision to bulk up. That's a decision to put on size.
And that's the crazy thing is everybody thinks I bulked up. I lost weight. I was not any heavier than I was before. But fasting is a big part of my diet as well. I'd done a 3-day fast, just water. And I'd done that like maybe a week before I came. So I was shredded. I literally just got through doing a 6-day fast, just water. That sucked too. But again, anything worth doing is hard. All you got to do is sit in that cold plunge. That's all you got to do is sit down.
Yeah, you just got to sit.
All you got to do in a sauna is just sit there.
It's such a mental game.
All you got to do is not eat and drink water. These things are easy to do, or they should be, but we're addicted to so many different, lifestyles of being easy and nice. And
we're addicted to being comfortable.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know what the worst time to get in the cold plunge is? Is when you're comfortable. It's perfect outside. It's perfect inside. Oh, it's great. And then you get in the cold plunge, you're like, oh, but if you can get used to being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It's not that hard to be uncomfortable anymore.
Some of the best things in life are hard, and I think they're supposed to be difficult.
Yes. I believe you've got to challenge yourself. And that's what I enjoy, challenging myself. What can I do to make this a little bit harder? And, that has weight training, fasting, sauna, cold plunge, all those play a part. And it's all up here more than anything. If you can get it up here, you can almost do anything.
Yeah. So are you lifting different now?
I lift different. Yeah, it's not the same. Just the way that I lift and not so much heavy weight.
Yeah.
But by the time I get into those last sets, I'm really struggling, right? And that's what you want. You don't want it to be easy. You don't want to be where you're going to hurt yourself, because if you get too, tired in this workout process, you'll end up doing it wrong. So if you can do it perfectly and it gets very hard to the last set, that's when you grow.
So it's like to failure every time?
Pretty much. I want to, by the last 2, if I'm doing sets of 10, by the time I get 8, I'm struggling. I have to decide, especially if I don't have a spotter, do I want to try for 9? Because I don't know if I can get it up, and it doesn't take a lot of weight to do that. And you try different ways of working out. I don't know if you've had the blood restriction.
Look where we're sitting right now.
Yes.
DDP has the power cuffs.
Yes.
I've worked out with him a bunch with the power cuffs.
Makes a difference, doesn't it?
And it makes a huge difference, but you're like, oh, I would normally curl like 30s, 35s. He's like, let's pick up 10s.
Yes.
You'll see.
Yes. Yeah, it makes, I've been doing it for a couple years now. Me and one of the trainers were riding together, and trainers for some reason are all friends with each other. It doesn't matter if it's wrestling or football. And we went to the Kansas City Chiefs and working out there, and they showed me those. And it was shortly after that, I was like, I need them. It's built for injuries, but it doesn't have to be.
Yeah.
You can get a good workout with very little weight, and it's unbelievably hard. No, a lot of people don't know this, but it's unbelievably hard.
And a lot less stress on your joints.
You're right. And that's what it's for, to still get that same pump within all that, damage to your joints.
So let's go back to the Royal Rumble. You debut, the crowd is crazy for it. Did you immediately in that moment impress Vince McMahon?
No, not at all. It was a fluke. And I don't know him. And you know what? Now I'm pretty sure I wasn't at Raw the next time, but somebody convinced him that it'd be a good idea if I came to Raw the next time. He did not care. A lot of people don't know this. He did not like AJ Styles for whatever reason. I'm sure I gave him a lot of reasons. I'm not the tallest guy. I have a Southern accent. There's several things that he could hate about AJ Styles. I think that Monday I had a match.
I remember it was in Miami, right?
Yeah. And
The Rock showed up that night.
I had a match and I was trying to give them what I thought he wanted. A baby face, smiling, doing all this stuff. Doing a cool little baby face flip to the outside. I think it was something like that. But he's like, as I came back, he's like, I got 1,000 guys that can do what you do. I got all those guys. He said he wanted to see a pit bull. And I was like, oh. And that kind of got me excited. I was like, oh, okay. I know, as I said before, I know that guy.
Yeah.
And that's going to be easy. I didn't tell him that, but I was like, I know that guy. Let me be that guy. And sure enough, the next week, I think I was on Miz TV. Several people came up to me and said, lay it in. Put it in there. I'm like, what? What has Miz done that he's pissed so many people off that they want me to hurt him? And it wasn't just like one higher up guy. It was a couple of them. And I was like, am I going to beat up Miz or I have no reason to. And I was like, nah. I decided I'm not going to hurt him. I'm not going to do that. But it was very intense, that moment that we had together, and I think that's what Vince was. It was a test to see if I was going to be like a pit bull, like just freaking coming after you. Nothing you can do to stop me. I'm getting you. And that's kind of what I gave him. And it was at that moment, it just took off.
And then from there it was stuff with Jericho, right?
Jericho.
And then into Cena.
Was it Roman?
Was it Roman?
Was it Roman?
You know better than me.
It was 2016. Was it? I want to say it may have been Roman. Jericho. It wasn't Roman because I won the right to wrestle Roman by beating Jericho, and it was a 4-way match. And Jericho, I think I beat him to get that opportunity to wrestle Roman, number 1 contender. So Jericho, Roman, Cena.
Beat up John Cena.
We tried to get a shirt made, and Vince was like, absolutely not. I'm like, why?
I think a lot of people would have bought it.
Yeah. So, yeah. We tried to get the shirt out there. Nobody, he said, absolutely not. I thought it was going to be good.
Is there a chance to wrestle Cena on his retirement tour?
I don't know. I don't make those decisions.
That'd be great to see.
I would love to have it for sure. It'd be fun, honestly. I think that there's something about you can't explain it, why him and I gel so well together. I don't know what it is because we're definitely not the same in any kind of way. It just works. So for the first time I got in the ring with him, it was like, wow, dude, that was cool. So, yeah, I would love the opportunity to work with Cena again.
Getting a great night's sleep is one of life's finest luxuries. You got to check out Miracle Made's bed sheets. They're inspired by NASA, and they have silver-infused fabrics that are temperature regulating, so you can sleep at the perfect temperature all night long. Also, say goodbye to those gross odors. Because they're infused with silver, they prevent up to 99.7% of bacterial growth, so that means you get fresher sheets up to 3 times longer. Miracle sheets are so comfortable without the high price tag of other luxury brands, and they feel just as good as sheets you'd have in a 5-star hotel. If you've tried everything else, try Miracle. Upgrade your sleep this year by going to trymiracle.com/CVV. And whether you're buying them for yourself or you're buying them as a gift for a loved one, you're already going to save over 40% if you order today. But if you use the code CVV at checkout, you'll get an additional 20% off plus a free 3-piece towel kit. That's trymiracle.com/CVV. wrestlemania.com/CVV.
I was blown away that you've never worked CM Punk one-on-one in a televised match in WWE.
Nope. Just Ring of Honor, actually.
Yeah.
So hopefully one day that'll come before we both retire.
That'd be great to see.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I think that's something that definitely could happen. Will it happen? I'm not sure, but it definitely should. I'd like that.
Is there anything you haven't done in WWE? Yeah, no.
I've never, there's things I haven't, like I've never won the Rumble, Money in the Bank. I've never won any of those. So there's some stuff out there, but it's not the end of the world if I haven't. I don't see it that way. I don't have to win stuff. I just want to be, a guy like one of the guys I would love to work AJ. Why? Because he's easy. I want to be that guy, or he's very giving. Like I want to make sure that guy looks good too. Because if it's not a match where both of us are looking good, or you're being whatever your character is, then what's the point? So I want to make sure that everybody looks good in the match. If the match is good, people appreciate the match more than they don't even probably know who wins or loses. It's not important. It's the match and the moments that you make within them.
I think the greatest compliment is you've never had a bad match.
Well, it's not true. I've been there. I remember the first time I wrestled Amazing Red at the Super 8, and I didn't know who he was. And if you don't know who Red is and you don't know how to take his moves, it's going to be lousy. And it was terrible. But after that, I knew Amazing Red very well. Yeah. And we had amazing matches after that. But yeah, there was that time when I was like really ashamed of myself.
So there was one time 20-something years ago.
I've had other bad matches. Don't get me wrong. I'll never forgive myself for that one. So.
Nah, I don't know. You're one of those guys that when your name is on the card, it doesn't matter who it's you versus. It's like, all right, that's going to be great.
Oh, I've had, I think we've had some matchups in the past where you thought, I don't know about this one. A perfect example. No one thought that me and Shane McMahon were going to have a good match.
WrestleMania 33.
Yes. And I thought we did a very good job of making that very entertaining. Had some moments in there that are really cool. I had the opportunity to work Shane McMahon, and awesome guy. Freaking love him. No one is more dedicated to perfection than Shane McMahon. Ask the Undertaker. He'll tell you. And I respect the heck out of that. And the stuff that he does, like he's still doing a shooting star press. Are you kidding me? He beats himself up. Man, so much respect for Shane. Freaking love him. That was a great match.
Was it difficult because Shane's not going to say no to anything?
Oh man,
and he wants to have a WrestleMania moment. So is he just pitching you like crazy stuff all the time?
Well, it wasn't that he was pitching it. He just wanted to perfect it. Whatever we were doing, he wanted to make sure it was spot on every time. And you got to respect that. I mean, that's what I want. And then be able to bounce some stuff off of him that the guy could fight for real. So he was able to put a little bit of that stuff that he knew, a little bit of jiu-jitsu that he's taken, and and make it work. It was really a fun match, man. Really unexpected, I think, for fans to see us have such a good match together.
You're so right that wrestling's about the moments. What's your WrestleMania moment?
Wow, that's a tough one. Are we talking about mine or a moment in wrestling that?
The one that you've been involved in.
Well, I think it may have been the Shane McMahon match because I'm working Shane McMahon. Who would have thought that AJ Styles would be working Shane McMahon? In a match, I believe it was the first match of WrestleMania, which was perfect. And to have such a great match and so much fun and be able to get to know a guy, man, that was a really, really awesome. I mean, don't get me wrong, walking out in front of 101,000 people, your first WrestleMania, isn't so shabby.
Yeah.
but I guess one of the most proud of matches that is probably with Shane because it was so good, I thought, and entertaining.
What do you think your match at 36 would have looked like if the world wasn't shut down and you weren't able to do a cinematic match with the Boneyard match? Would you have had a traditional match with Undertaker?
Yeah. Oh yeah. And I think it would have been really good because just doing that cinematic match that we had, we didn't go over these this match or whatever we're doing. Like we didn't go step by step. We just kind of did it, and we never had to do it twice.
So you're just setting up the cameras, like I'll do this and this, and we'll move on to the next spot.
Yeah,
wow.
Yeah, that really was, and we didn't have to do a second take. So for us to have that kind of chemistry, what would it have been like if it were in the ring? You know, so it was fun. I think that it happened the way it was supposed to. You know, he got the match that he thought really stuck out, and it did.
Yeah,
that's another match, man. Like that's a WrestleMania moment. You know, the more I think about it, like because not everybody likes it. Cinematic matches. You know, usually they don't do too well, and that one was done really well.
Oh, it's the pinnacle, right? That is the bar that all other cinematic matches are now measured against.
Yeah, I mean, it was so much fun, and the meme of the decade, you know. So like that one meant a lot to me too, man. You know, I'll tell you one of the coolest things is I was like, man, what do I give this guy as a gift to say thank you?
And did you know that was his last match?
I didn't know if it was the last match, but I thought it could be, and that I would have the opportunity to have his last match. And I wanted to give him something. So I ended up signing my gloves that I wrestled and giving them to him. Actually, I asked Michelle, I was like, I want to give him something to say thank you. He's like, give him your gloves, sign your gloves and give them to him. Like, okay. All right. I can do that. That's easy. Well, a couple of weeks after that, he had given me his gloves. So I have the Undertaker's gloves that he wrestled in his last match. And I think that's pretty freaking cool.
Yeah.
You know? So the opportunity for you know, if we could have done that in the ring, what could it have been? I don't know. But
maybe sure it wouldn't have been.
Maybe it wouldn't have. But, you know, it's still pretty cool to be able to have that cinematic. To have that, I was so jealous of other guys who've had those matches, and I didn't with The Undertaker, a guy who's only on the Mount Rushmore of wrestling, no doubt. I don't care. He's got to be. So to have that match with him was pretty amazing.
Yeah, that was like. That WrestleMania was strange, right? Because the world had just shut down a few weeks before and they had to make this work. That match made it all worthwhile.
Yeah. Well, it's just a weird time, right? Because she's like, everybody's dying, you know, what's going on? How do we, you know, come back from something like this? It was a scary time, but hopefully, you know, for however many minutes that cinematic match was, we got your mind off that and you can enjoy wrestling. You know, I think I'm very proud of it.
When you talk about The Undertaker being done and you're his last opponent, do you think about how much longer you can do this?
Oh, man. I've thought about it a lot, to way much more than I should have. I should have known what I was doing by now, but like, it's so hard because you enjoy it so much. And I enjoy being around my friends. Don't get me wrong, I love being at home, but the opportunity to see them and see them doing well and seeing them smile and like seeing them grow. Like some of these guys, like Roman, for instance, like, man, his selling is on a different level. He's like changed. Jey Uso, Jimmy Uso, all these guys, they stepped up. You know, if Roman stepped up, they stepped up with him. I just thought that was so impressive that they do that, and seeing them grow into these amazing, these big superstar, going through, you know, losing all that weight to get to where he's at now as the heavyweight champion. It's freaking awesome, right? Cody, to seeing where he's at and what he had to go through to get to where he was at, and what he's doing now, he's at that position. Like he's the guy. He puts the work in. Like it's really cool to see those guys hustle as much as they are and you know, beat themselves up as much as they have and still doing well. I like seeing that, man.
So you don't want to be away from that?
No, I like seeing that. I don't know, what's the word I'm looking for? it's just really cool to see people do really well. And I think I'd rather see them do well more than myself. You know, I want to see you guys. Oh man, Dominic Mysterio, so freaking good to see where he was, to see where he is now. Easily, in my opinion, top heel. Like you can't get heat like he can. But to see where he was when he first came, that's freaking cool.
Yeah.
And I like seeing that. That's what I'm going to miss when it's over, right? Just seeing people do really well and find a way to get to the top.
Do you want to wrestle into your 50s?
No, I don't. No.
Do you want to have a match at 50?
No.
So You're saying there's only a few more years left then?
That's correct. I keep saying that I've said this, but I will not wrestle till 50. I promise you that. And it's
People are going to clip this and hold you to it.
Yeah, like, oh, here he is.
He said 50.
He's Ric Flair in us. He's a liar.
49 in 364 days.
Yeah. Well, it's like Sean, he was done until he wasn't, sometimes money talks.
But you haven't lost a step. That's the thing.
I think I hide it.
You look better than ever.
I think I hide it very well.
Well, that's because you know your strengths and your weaknesses.
Very much, yes. So, things aren't as easy as they used to be. The first thing that you lose as you get older is your stamina, right? That's the first thing to go. You still got that power, but the stamina. So I really try to make sure that I find ways, knowing where I'm at in my match, if I'm going to do something crazy, that I have enough energy to do it. I don't want to be tired trying to, do a 450 or something like that. So I make sure things are at the right place at the right time so I can do it as perfect as I can.
When you came back recently, you came back with your old theme song. Was that your call?
Yeah. It was my call to change it too. Because as a bad guy, I thought my song was a little too cool. Everybody loves that song. I love the song. But that's not who I was trying to be. I wanted you to not like me, that you despised me. And I thought, well, if I change the song up, people are going to hate it. Perfect. Right? If they do, perfect. And then when I know it's coming back and I'm going to be the good guy again, I was like, I want my old music back. And nobody said anything. They're like, yep, that's fine. So, yeah, that was my decision.
You've had a lot of cool theme songs over your career.
Yes. Oh, yeah. A lot of bad ones, too. If you watch the first TNA show, oh, man, it's terrible. I can't even remember what it's like, but I was so embarrassed walking out to it. So you'll have to go back and listen to that. It is terrible.
Get Ready to Fly is my favorite.
Oh, man. Listen, Grits, the guys that done that song for me, awesome guys. I don't want to hear that song ever again.
What are you talking about?
My sons love it. They're like, Dad, if you came back, because TNA's working with WWE, if you came back to Get Ready to Fly, I'm not coming out with that song, guys. I'm just not doing it. Not because I hate it. I'd listened to it for so long. I don't want to come out to it anymore. So unless somebody sneaks it in on me, I'm not walking out with that song.
There's a partnership now with WWE and TNA. You are the name at the top of the list of people that they want to see back in TNA. You think it'll happen? I
don't know. I'd like it to. I think it'd be fun to do something like that, like a one-off. I would definitely do it.
It'd have to be your old TNA theme song.
Oh, God. It would, wouldn't it?
It would. Come on.
It kind of would.
You know, they played that theme song, what was that, 4 or 5 years ago when Swoggle came out dressed as you?
The Wenominal Man? We-Nominal Man? Is that what? The We-Nominal One. That's what it was. Oh, yeah. Gallows and Edge will tell me about it.
Do you know how many hardcore TNA fans, myself included, were going, no, AJ's here? And then Swoggle comes out like, oh, he's clearly not here.
We-Nominal One, which is pretty hilarious.
But seeing you in TNA in 2025 would be amazing.
So I went up and visited as they were in Atlanta maybe a month or two ago. Mm-hmm. Frankie Kazarian was there, so I was able to hang out with him. But there were so many other people there that I was like, oh my gosh, oh wow, Gail Kim, Christy Hemme, like those are my guys. But Eric Young also there. But it was really cool to see. I thought it looked really good. I think they did a really good job. And I know they don't have a lot of money to work with, but for what they had, I thought it looked really good. And I was like, man, these guys are really doing something. So it's exciting to see. And I hope that we continue to work with TNA, WWE, and help them as much as they're helping us because, NXT talent being shown on TNA and vice versa, it's good for everybody. So
It just feels like we're in such a different era of wrestling. Like if you went into a coma 5 years ago and you woke up and I showed you a photo of the TNA champion who had just been in the Royal Rumble, standing, getting pointed to by Triple H, you'd never believe it.
Oh man, how could you? No, like, because we were all conditioned to believe that nothing other than WWE existed. If you were in WWE, nothing existed. That's the thing, is that Vince had no idea who I was. No clue.
So that's true. That's a real thing?
Yeah. He had no idea.
He had never watched an AJ Styles match?
Never. I promise you. He's never watched any matches outside of WWE because nothing else existed except for WWE. I'm sure, when he was first trying to start WWF and get everybody he wanted, I'm sure then maybe he saw matches. But once he's rolling and it's WWE, I guarantee you he watched nothing else.
But it feels like Triple H watches everything.
Yeah, I think he had a better idea of who guys were and girls, and bringing them in, I think. But that's what we need. You have to, I don't know, just like evolve. And a lot of people think, oh, he's just picking and choosing what he wants. But if you're a TNA or something smaller and someone has the opportunity to go to the WWE, how many people are going to want to work for TNA to maybe get an opportunity? And that's just helping TNA get, bigger stars and whatnot, maybe get more money in the long run. It just helps everybody. People are going to go where there's an opportunity to better their lives.
Yeah. I
left New Japan, which I thought so much of. I really loved that place because, I was coming home and I had the opportunity to make more money, was there. People are going to do that. You're not going to stop them unless you're able to offer them somewhat closer to that money or something. So I think it just benefits everybody even with TNA. Noah, being able to work with them. Omos was just in Noah.
Yeah. And
he's going to learn over there and he's going to bring that back to WWE.
Yeah.
And it's going to work well for him. In WWE, the things that he did in Noah, where you learn different styles.
Yeah.
It's good.
If you're only going to wrestle till 49 and we're all holding you to that now, what does life after wrestling look like?
Oh, wow. So the time that I was not hurt, but at home, getting up and walking in the morning, getting my couple miles in. Who knew you could burn 700 calories walking? I didn't. Going to the breakfast in the morning, which is nice, with your wife, spending time with your kids, going to a baseball game that they're playing in, the wrestling matches and stuff like that, or nothing at all. Maybe it's just going and spending time together. I'm not afraid of retirement. I think it's going to be great once I get there and I'm able to go, whew, I did it, but for me, it's doing it correctly. The retirement, doing it correctly, something that I'm confident like that was it. That was the one. I hope that's what the Undertaker felt. Like that was the one.
So it's a match. You're thinking it's going to be a final match.
It's a final match, but it's the story that led up to it. I think. I hope.
You have an opponent in mind?
Nope. No opponent in mind. An idea that I will not share with you that I thought if I could get Undertaker get in the ring with me that I wanted to do. But there's an idea there that I think kind of sums up who AJ Styles is. And we'll see if it happens. You'll know it if it does, but we'll have to wait and see.
It just has to be so interesting because you've known yourself as a wrestler for the majority of your adult life. And there's going to be a time pretty soon when you're going to see yourself as a retired wrestler, a former wrestler. You okay with that?
Yeah, I'm okay with that. I'll tell you the reason why I hope to have a good storyline that leads up to the retirement so that NXT, the folks down there, go, oh yeah, they were so invested in the story. They know who AJ Styles was, so that they will respect what I'm trying to tell them to help them get better. So that I could share this information that I've learned throughout my years, not to hoard it to myself, but to give it to you. And so that you respect me enough to use it and know it could work for you if you just use it. Like I'm offering all this information for you to get better because I don't need it anymore.
Yeah.
But if you don't have respect, they may not listen to you.
You'll have a lot more time to play video games.
That's true. I got to find some video games that are out there that I'm.
You have every video game.
But I find myself playing retro games.
Oh,
now.
like what?
Some Street Fighters, just old Street Fighters.
Street Fighter 2 is my favorite.
Yeah, I don't like the juggling. I don't like the Tekken and the juggling and the combos. I don't want that. Just give me the old school stuff. Some old games and consoles that, I never got to play as a kid. Let me see if I can beat this game on TurboGrafx 16. Stuff like that.
Deep cut.
Yeah.
Deep cut.
So that's what I'm interested in. I find myself playing those games and enjoying them.
Who do you play as when you play Street Fighter?
Ken. I can answer that pretty quick.
But Ken and Ryu have the same moveset.
Well, I mean, the Dragon Punch is more of Ken and the Shoryuken is Ryu, right?
I just Chun-Li with the kick, the cheap kick.
Oh, yeah. Everybody does that. Everybody does that. But that's the thing. Video games, I think, have slowed down to getting, because it takes so long to make them.
Yes.
And it takes so long to learn them.
We got AJ Styles on the show before GTA 6.
Listen, I've never been a GTA guy because I just don't think that I can play that game and my kids walk down and see what's going on.
Sure.
There's a lot of things, but I'm interested in this next one coming out, bigger and better than any of them have ever been, right? I'm interested, and I may have to pick it up and just jump on that bandwagon and play just like everybody else.
But just not let your kids see, because that's probably not a.
Well, they're older now, so I think it might be all right. I might. I don't know. Yeah, who knows? But I have my own little area at this point where I can just shut the door and to the point where my daughter, who's 10 now, she's sneaky. So I've got my headphones on and I'm playing a game and I don't hear anything. It's God, Jace, stop doing that. And so I put some lights in there. So it's like,
oh, so you can see shadows.
No. They'll come on. They're so sure.
If there's motion.
Motion sensor. And so when the light comes on, I'm like, ah. So yeah.
Are you talking trash to people when you're playing?
No, not at all. I talk trash at all. I usually just play by myself at this point. I'm playing PUBG or something like that. A game that took forever for me to learn how to play. Now I don't want to stop playing it because it's the only game I know how to play. Yeah. That's where I'm at.
What's a move you do in the ring that doesn't look like it hurts, but it hurts?
A move that I do in the ring. That's a good question because I'd like to think none of them hurt.
Okay. Or maybe you're like, didn't land that quite right.
I remember I apologized to Kofi the first time I did the springboard 450. I was like, man, I think I came down a little hard on that. I apologize. And he's like, oh, no, it's fine. Because Kofi's awesome. But I thought it was a little tight. But I tried to rotate a little bit forward a little bit on my 450 so that I can just roll off of you. So I'm not murdering you with it. So that's my thing. But there's always going to be mistakes.
So you're just hurting yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, if you try to take care of them, if you try to take care of someone so much, you'll end up hurting yourself. That always happens. So you got to have a happy medium to do that.
I feel like everything you do is very seamless.
I wanted to ask Dominic, am I rough, dude? I'm snug. I will say that. I don't like there to be any space into what I'm doing. I want you to think that I'm pissed off. So maybe a little snug depending where we are. It'll be more snug. If we're outside and we're by the fans, it's coming. So for the longest time when I was wrestling John, I was murdering him with forearms because that's the way you throw them in Japan because they don't make any noise. You can hear them. Loved it. Well, you can't hear anything in WWE. All these fans making all the noise and I'm murdering John. And then one day I was talking about it. I was like, yeah, then I realized nobody could hear me hitting John. So I stopped hitting him so hard. He goes, yeah. He finally said something. So that was the only time he said something. He never said, don't hit me hard anymore. Don't do it. No, he never said a word. And they were in there. I promise you. So yeah, I wonder sometimes how snug I am.
This is full circle for me. So I want to say thank you for allowing this to happen and making the time to do this. I met you at that show that I showed you in Toronto.
Yeah.
And I paid $5 Canadian to get a photo with you in the ring.
What show? Was it a TNA show?
It was BSE, Blood, Sweat, and Ears. You worked Eric Young in the main event. And it was $5 to get in the ring. And I took this photo with you. And it's a very 2007 photo. I think it was 2007. And it's a very 2007 photo. Like you've got the short hair and you're clean shaven. I've got this ridiculous puka shell necklace.
Oh yeah, we all had them. Yeah, we all are pretty ridiculous. Now, so how old were you when?
I was 24.
Okay, all right.
So you would have been like 30, right?
I don't know.
Born in 77?
77.
Yes,
Yeah.
you would have been 30.
Wow.
But it would, like, I bought a ticket to that show because you were on the card.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Oh man, it's a crazy world, man, to see how both we've come, both of us. You know, who is the? I know this isn't. Maybe I'm not supposed to be asking you questions, but here I go.
Inside with JJ Styles now.
When was your first interview like this, and who was it with?
So I started my TV career in 2005, but I was a news reporter. So you're doing local news stories, and I was in a small town. I was in Peterborough, Ontario, Bobby Roode's hometown, actually.
Oh, okay.
I was a news reporter on Chex TV there. So you're interviewing people about like the local news. Then I got an entertainment show a year and a half later on MTV2 Canada.
Oh shoot, that's big.
It was big. I moved to Vancouver for that. Bobby Lashley was my first wrestling interview, but we only air a few minutes of it on TV. But I was still such a wrestling nerd that I wanted to like ask him all the questions I wanted to ask him. So we did a 15 or so minute interview. We only aired 2 or 3 minutes. That was probably the first real big one. Then after that, it's a lot of actors and comedians, and every once in a while, WWE or TNA would come to town and we'd get to do an interview. Hey, tickets start at $20. Go see the show tonight. And I'd be like, yeah, but tell me about SummerSlam 1998 or whatever. And I would like try to work that question in.
Oh yeah, but dude, the thing about most, I would think most wrestlers is like, oh, this guy knows what he's talking about. And we kind of talk about, because we're fans too.
Sure.
And then we just have this great conversation about wrestling. And the next thing you know, it's a 30-minute conversation that was only supposed to be 15 minutes. You know?
I remember Jeff Hardy coming to the TV station. I was working in Cleveland at the time. I was at the CBS affiliate. And he came in. It was just a quick interview to promote TNA. And I was like, hey, I want to tell you that like TLC2 was amazing. He was like, oh, really? And like you're speaking my language now. Like I'm so used to people just being like, and we've got Jeff Hardy here. You know what I mean?
So true. It's so true.
Tell us about the Chamber of Elimination. What is this thing?
Oh, it happened to us so many times where, you know, we go to a radio station, that very same thing happens. They're like, well, and we have our ideas that we're going to do and say, points. And yeah, we just put it out there. It's not really an interview. It just,
I thought for sure at one point in time I would get you because I was doing a lot of stuff with TNA, and I got Jarrett and I got Eric Young and I got Mick Foley and I got Jeff Hardy, but you just weren't doing the press tour when I was, when it was in Cleveland.
All right. I got one more. Who do you think, and you can't say it can't be a wrestler, but the biggest star you've ever, I guess Batista's up there, right? The biggest star that you've ever interviewed. Would you say, is it Batista?
Rock means rock bigger.
But yeah,
but he's a wrestler.
Yeah,
so.
but is that your way in? Is because they're wrestlers, or?
So I've interviewed Rock 10 times. Not that I'm counting or anything.
Yeah,
but they've always been except for one time, they've always been for movies. So I've interviewed him for Jumanji and for Moana and for Rampage, Fast and Furious, all of these movies. And one time I got him at Raw. But I think the biggest movie star I've interviewed is Tom Cruise.
Whoa.
Yeah.
When was that?
Mission Impossible 6. So 2018.
Dude,
it was at the world premiere. It was in Paris. The Eiffel Tower's behind us. Yeah, it was crazy.
Were you intimidated? Like, holy, it's Tom Cruise. I know he's only 5'6", but like, you know.
He was wearing something in his shoes, I think.
Oh yeah,
because we're the same height in the photo. And I'm like,
shut up. What? I know that's true.
What's intimidating is you're on a red carpet. So I was probably 20 reporters deep in the red carpet. You know how a red carpet works. Yeah. You start at this person, then on to the next, on to the next. So what's intimidating is you see him slowly making his way towards you, right?
Yeah.
So you're like, oh, he's 5 people away. All right. So that's like 2 minutes each. So 10 minutes away. Okay. Now he's 4 people away. All right. Okay. Now he's 3 people away. So what's intimidating is just like the anticipation of like, he's eventually going to walk up here. Then it's our moment, go time. But he is so present. He looks you right in the eye when he's talking. There's screaming fans everywhere. There's all these other reporters. He's having a conversation with just you. And the only thing that exists is this moment. And there's something about that is unforgettable, because not everybody does that, especially in this day and age of phones buzzing in your pocket and all the other things happening in the outside world. He's right here. And that was pretty crazy.
So yeah, I'm going to take that, put that in my pocket, and make sure that I do that. When I'm doing an interview or talking to someone, make sure that it's us. So I just learned something. So I want to make sure, I think I do that, but I want to make sure that I do that.
What's really special about like this format is we've talked now for over an hour and a half.
Oh, really? Oh, shoot.
It's crazy, right?
Yeah.
I said we were going to talk for an hour.
Yeah.
You're like, that's it. But there's very rare instances where you're going to sit and just look at somebody in the eye and talk to them for an hour and a half and not go, oh, my wife's texting me, or, oh, the kid's, doing something.
Yeah. I'm with you, man.
And that's what I love about this format. It's like a conversation where you're like, you were so present and you're so dedicated to this moment.
Yeah.
So to bring it all the way back around, I want to say thank you.
Man, this has been awesome.
I would have paid $5 Canadian.
Ooh, big spender.
I'll wrap this up with a question that I ask everybody at the end. Gratitude's such an important part of my life. I wake up every day, I say out loud 3 things I'm grateful for. Do it before I go to bed as well, because I think it's such a good way to just center on the things you have rather than focusing on the things you don't have.
Sure.
So AJ, what are 3 things that you're grateful for right now?
I am, as a believer, I am grateful for the relationship that I have with my Heavenly Father. And I got to remember who I'm talking to when I pray and be thankful for the things that I've been blessed with, things that I don't deserve, things that I shouldn't have, because I know me. I see myself. When I look in the mirror, I don't see a good person. But despite of me being this guy who makes mistakes every day, my Heavenly Father loves me for who I am and sees something in me that I don't. And so for me to be, I can be better every day than I was yesterday. So that's what I'm grateful for, that I have the opportunity to do that and take care of my family while having one of the best jobs on the planet. I'm grateful for so many things, man, that we take for granted. And, and for the little things that not many people think of, I'm just like you. I'm grateful for so many things. And I know you're more than grateful for 3 things, but you got to make sure these are the ones. And I get that for sure.
Yeah. And they're different things every day.
Yeah. Right. Everything changes. Like you don't realize, man, I'm so thankful that the grass is growing in the yard where I planted.
I'm so grateful my car starts when I turn the key.
That we have a car to drive.
Yes.
That there's so many beautiful things on this earth that we take for granted.
Yeah, I'm grateful my kids are healthy.
Yes. That, you get to be in their lives.
I'm grateful I get to be a father.
Freak, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I am thankful that I have a daughter who lets me know that no matter what I do, I'm still her dad, and she still loves me because I am. That's it. With my boys, a little bit different. They may be like, hey, Dad, love you, man. What is it? What'd you do? Or my daughter would tell me she loves me just because she does. And you can't beat that, man. The kids, it's one of those things where you love them so much that you want the world to know. So you get a tattoo on your side with their initials and their birthdays, and they're probably, as they get older, going, what a stupid tattoo, Dad. That's really you're so old and wrinkly, and that's on you, but there's so many things, like you said, to be grateful for. And I'm grateful for so many things, but first and foremost, I'm my Heavenly Father, man, that I have a good relationship with him. And then that leads to all these things that he's provided for me, things that, right place, right time, right person watching. Like, how many times does that got to happen? So I am blessed, dude. I think we're blessed.
I totally believe that. Wow, man, this was great.
Yeah, it was freaking awesome.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you, man.
Yeah, man, thanks for having me.
Oh, my pleasure. Let's do it again one day.
I bet you will.
Thank you, man.
I'm going to make you.
Hell yeah.
I'm like, all right, let's do our interview.
That was fantastic, man.
Yeah, man.